Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In the last video we talked about branches and we also explored a little bit about how Git works internally. We talked about snapshots, we talked about blobs, what they are. We talked about commit objects and how there are different pointers pointing towards snapshots and then blobs and things like that. So we understood all of that stuff. We also went through a little bit of basics of branches, some basic branching commands and things like that, but we didn't really do anything practical. So in this video we are going to explore the practical side of it, where I'm going to explain to you what exactly is happening when we are running each and every command through diagrams. So do make sure to watch this video till the very end if you still have doubts about branches, and I'm sure that after this video your doubts would be cleared. Now before we dive into the video, up until now in this bootcamp, we've been talking about some notes that are going to be available. We have been talking about some assignments that are going to be available. So coming to assignments first, there are going to be no assignments available for Linux and Git. But as we move on to videos regarding front end and Python and all of those technologies, then we are going to start having assignments. With that being said, now coming back to notes, I've been saying that I'm going to provide notes since a very long time, but I also had this thing in mind that all the notes that are going to be created based on my videos are going to be community maintained and community contributed. So I finally took the time to create a repository for our notes. The name of the repository, as you can see in front of your screen, is Virtual Tech Notes. And in this repository, I didn't do much. I just added a simple README markdown file to add some instructions on how to actually contribute, and we are going to go through them in a bit. And then I just created some folder structures, right? So that's all we did up until now. And if you look at the instructions that we have provided here, the first thing is that all the notes that are going to be there should be in a readme.md file, which is a markdown file, right? So the basic structure, if I just walk you through it, is going to be like this. So in my Linux Masterclass playlist there are about 8 videos, right? And if I click on the Linux Masterclass here, I can see that there are about 8 directories here. 01 setup, which is setting up Linux in your Windows machine. Then 02 introduction, which is for introduction. Then 03 streams and files, which was about input output streams and error streams and things like that. Then we have users and permissions, processes, partitions, kernel, and then finally resource utilization, right? So these were the topics of the 8 videos that we created. So we have these 8 directories inside our Linux masterclass directory, inside our virtual tech nodes. So from virtual tech nodes we go into Linux masterclass. Inside Linux masterclass, if we go into any of these directories that are there, they are going to have a readme.md file. Right, and in this markdown file, I've simply added a simple, text which says that no notes are available at the moment. Contribute notes based on this video now, right? And this, if you click on this, this is going to redirect you to the video that that particular readme.md file is linked to, based on which video the notes in this file are going to be entered, right? So that's there for all the files. I mean, even if you go on 05 processes and I click on this video, it's going to be mapped with the video for processes, right? So if you're not aware which video you should refer to while creating notes or things like that, you can definitely check out the links I've already added here. Same for Git Masterclass as well. If you go into Git Masterclass, you'll again see 3 folders. This is the 4th video of the playlist, so obviously, I mean, I haven't created a directory for that and the readme.md file. Now if we talk about why the naming convention should be readme.md, strictly should be readme.md, simply because the website that we are creating, the virtual tech schools website that is going to be there, it is also going to display the notes that are available in corresponding to a particular video, in correspondence with a particular video. So it's going to display the notes, and in order to identify which notes are available for that particular video, we are taking the naming convention as readme.md, right? So if the name is anything else, if it's notes.md or something like that, it's not going to work. The website is not going to recognize that file, right? So that is one of the major reasons why the naming convention should be readme.md. This is the very first instruction that is mentioned here. Now the second instruction that is there is to refrain from adding any images in the project directory. So if let's say you want to add any image in your markdown files, right? Any diagrams that are there, any sort of images, if you want to add them, then don't like add them in that directory itself and just create a link in the markdown file. Don't do that. If you however want to still add images, try to avoid adding images in any case. I know there are some diagrams here and there which you might need to. So in those cases where you actually want to add diagrams, just simply host your images somewhere else from where you can simply generate a link which you can open on your browser and you'll see the image. Just generate that link hosting that image somewhere and add that image like as a link, as you do in the markdown file. Add it in the markdown file while having the image hosted somewhere else, right? So that is majorly to keep the size of the repository in check. I mean, I don't want this repository to go into you know GBs with just a few videos, right? I know this repository eventually is going to become huge since it's going to contain notes for the entire bootcamp, but we still want to keep it the size in check, right? So let's do that. And the next thing is that you can also add some handwritten notes that you might have created, right? A lot of people, we have a habit of watching a video and scribbling down some notes. So if you create some notes, some handwritten notes, and you want to upload them, the simple thing to do is to convert those notes, to scan those notes first. You scan it through a scanner or a mobile phone, whatever it is. Scan the notes, create a PDF of it, right? Name the PDF notes.pdf, again for the same reason that the website is going to only identify this naming convention, notes.pdf, right? And this PDF you can add into the respective folders where the markdown for that markdown with the notes for that particular video is going to be there. You can simply add the notes.pdf as well. You If you don't want to, um, I mean, it's optional. The main thing is the markdown notes that we have, but handwritten notes are optional. I mean, if you think you can create good notes that will get accepted with good handwriting and things like that, feel free to add them. Just make sure that the size of your PDF should not exceed 1 megabyte, right? This is a strict condition. The size should not exceed 1 megabyte until and unless there's a good reason. There are a lot of pages in your handwritten PDF or anything like that. I mean, later on we might have longer videos which require you know a larger size of the PDF for hosting its handwritten notes. So in that case, I mean, there might be some exceptions, but in majority of the cases, try to keep the size below 1 megabyte, again to keep the like the size of this repository in check, right? And finally, whenever you're making a PR, whenever you make a pull request to like get your changes embedded into this repository, to get your changes merged into this repository, whenever you're raising a PR, whatever it is, I mean, if it is a markdown or a PDF, if there was already an existing version out there, right? If there was already a markdown file and you, let's say, made some improvements, or there was some markdown file and you didn't like the content of that markdown file, so you just felt like you should rewrite the entire notes and you know raise a PR for that. So whatever you're doing, just give us a short description of it, like what exact things have you improved. Why is this PR existing in the first place, right? What have you exactly improved? Have you made some spelling mistakes? Have you made some spelling corrections? You corrected some spellings, you corrected some grammar. It could be anything, right? Because this is community contributed, so you can make even small contributions. That doesn't actually matter as long as we are maintaining this repository. But yeah, I mean, talking about it, this is the repository where all the nodes will be hosted. These nodes would be linked with the website. So once the website is live, you can actually see the nodes there as well. And you see the entire catalog of all the videos. And now these nodes would be community maintained because I mean, it's for the community, so it should be by the community, right? I'm not going to spend time creating notes in the Markdown format because I already have a lot of R&D work before creating a videos, and I also need to pace up my course because we've already lost a lot of time. So all of that is there, but this repository is going to be community maintained, so feel free to make open source contributions into this repository after you watch this video. And without any further ado, now let's get started. So in this repository, let's say that I've made a few commits, right? Let's say, I mean, it currently says that I've made about 6 commits and it was last updated about 2 days ago, right? But let's say that, I mean, instead of 6 commits, let's reduce that number. Let's say that I only made 3 commits, right? So there was the C0, which was the initial commit that was there. Then there was the C1, right, which was the first commit after my initial commit, and then I made a commit which is simply C2, right? So let's say that currently my main branch that is there, and my main branch here, the name of my default branch or my main branch, since I created this repository through GitHub instead of Git command line, is main here, right? So we can say that the main branch or the pointer of the main branch, this, is currently pointing towards this, right? Let's say this is the situation, right? And what I'll simply do is I actually have it already cloned in my local. So if I go to desktop and inside this, if I go to virtual tech school, I'll see that there's a directory already called virtual tech nodes, right? So I can simply cd into virtual tech nodes, and here if I, let's say, do a git status, I'll see that there's nothing, like I didn't make any local changes. So whatever there is uploaded here is the same as what I have in my local system, right? If I do an ls here, I can see that there's Git Masterclass, Linux Masterclass, and readme.md, things like that, right? So for the Linux Masterclass, we had this, first video where we just talked about how you can run Linux in your Windows, right? So let's say that I want to add nodes to this current directory right now, right? So the first thing that I should do is I should create a branch git switch, right? And then -c, which stands for create a branch, and then I can create a name of the branch. In my case, I mean, since I'm adding nodes for 01 setup, right, I'm going to name as at 01 setup, right? I press enter and I can see, if I do a git branch right now, I can see that I have two branches right now, the main branch and the 01 setup branch that I just created, and I'm currently in my 01 setup branch, right? So now if I go to this diagram here, what did exactly happen in this diagram right now? What happened was that I created a new branch 01 setup. We created this new branch, and now this branch is also pointing towards C2, right? This is what happened. Now let's say that I make some changes into the branch. I know that my 01 setup branch is already active, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code, because that's the text editor I'm going to use for this, and I can see that my project is already opened, the virtual tech nodes, right? So I can simply go to the Linux Masterclass, I can go to 01 setup, and I can go to the readme.md file, right? Now there's this already written stuff, no nodes available, contribute nodes based on this video now. So I'll just let the text before contribute notes for now, because I'm not going to write the entire notes, and let me just quickly fill up some notes for this particular video. Now let's say that I created some notes, and now I don't want to continue creating notes for this particular thing, but I want to create notes for some other video, right? So I've already committed my changes. What I can simply do is I can again check out to my master branch, right? Currently what my graph would look like is that instead of this 02 setup, or instead of the 01 setup being pointing towards my C2, there has been another commit added, a C3, right, whose parent commit is C2, and now my 01 setup, the branch that I created, is pointing towards this new commit, right? So this is what is happening right now. Now let's say that I don't want to continue working on this branch. I, let's say, want to work on something else, right? I want to work on adding nodes for some other video, right? So I've already committed my changes here. What I can simply now do is, if I want to create notes for some other video, I can simply do a git checkout to my master, or not master, to my main branch, right? Because our default branch is main right now. So I can simply check out to main, right? And do note that if I had any uncommitted changes here that were conflicting with the branch that I'm trying to switch to, Git wouldn't have let me do that. So in our example, the original version was this: no notes available, contribute notes based on the link of the video. But if I do a git checkout 01 setup, right, and I press enter, I can see that the contents of this file itself have changed, right? So this file right now had conflicting changes, you can say, between the two branches. And if I didn't commit these changes in my 01 setup, if I didn't commit them and tried to switch branches without committing them, then Git wouldn't have let me do that. Now a simple reason behind this could be that it's a good practice to have a clean working state whenever you are switching branches. But if, let's say, sometimes we just want to let go of some changes that we made, we don't want those changes, we don't want to commit them, but we still want to switch branches due to some urgency or something like that, then we'll learn how to get around through that when we talk about amends and stashing in Git, right? So don't worry about that. But let's say that for now I switched back to my main branch, right? So now I switched back to my main branch, and let's say that from here I create a new branch, right? So I'll again do a git checkout, or not a checkout, I'll do a git switch, right? And then I'll just quickly clear this up first. So I'll do a git switch. I think it's too large, so I'll do a git switch. I think this size is fine. So I'll do a git switch and then -c to create a new branch, and then do a 02, and then my next is introduction. Right, so now I'm asking it to create a new branch and switch me to that branch which is 02 introduction. Right, so now we have switched to this branch, right? And now let's say that we make some changes in this branch. So I'll open the 02 introduction, and again I'll add some notes here. Right, so let's say I created these nodes, right? And now again let's say I do a git add dot and then git commit, and I'll again keep the message demo nodes added in 02 introduction, right? So a simple commit message, right? So now what happened is that again if I go back to my diagram, so this is still there, but I'm just going to redraw a little bit. So my C3, in which my 01 setup is pointing towards this branch. This is pointing towards this, right? Whose parent branch is this? Now a C4 has been created this time, pointing towards this, right? And 02 intro branch that we created, this 02 intro branch is pointing towards C4, right? So a new commit got created, right? Now let's say that I want to merge this thing. So there are two ways to do that. Again, I mean, the first thing is if I can push this to Git, it says that I need to push it using this upstream command, set upstream origin, and we'll understand what this set upstream means later, as well as the origin, right? So I push it, and I do a git, I'll just clear this first, I do a git checkout not master main, right? So I'm in my main branch. Now if I again come back here in this, right, so here I can see that my new branch that I created, 02 introduction. So do note that the 01 setup branch that we created, we didn't push that to Git yet, right? We only we first created that 01 setup, we made some changes, we committed those changes, then we switched back to our main branch. From main branch we created a 02 introduction branch, we made some changes, we committed them, and then we pushed them. So the 03 the 01 setup commit that we created, the branch that we created, that didn't get pushed because we were not in that branch and we didn't push that branch code, right? So this is the branch that we created locally, and this is where we made our git push. So that's why this is visible here, our 02 introduction, right? If I go to 02 introduction here, then you'll see that it says that this branch is one commit ahead of main, right? And if I click on this, it says that I can simply create a pull request, or and after I create pull request, it says that it is able to merge this 02 introductions with the main branch, right? So this is one way of doing it. You can simply create a pull request and then merge that pull request, but this will only work if this project, you are the owner of this project. So currently I am the owner of this project, that's why I can do this, right? Now the second way to do it, if we talk about doing it locally, right, is to again check out to our main branch. I think I'm already in my main branch, so I'm already in my main branch, and then I can simply do a git merge. This merge is a command, right? And then I can write the name of the branch that I want to merge, right? Now after doing this, if I press enter, right, it simply says that it simply like merged my 02 introductions with my 02 main, right? And here it says a thing which is known as fast forward. Now what does this fast forward mean? So to discuss it here, what is basically happening is that since this 02 intro branch that got merged with the main branch here, since this 02 intro branch was directly ahead of the main branch, right? I mean, it was a direct linear path that it had to take between the two. Then what git simply did is that it simply took this main pointer that was there, the main branch, it simply took this pointer for the main and started pointing it towards this branch, right, which is pointing towards C4, right? So since from this position it moved to this position in a straightforward way, this means that it fast forwarded the branch that we had. It simply fast forwarded it. Now again, I mean, we made these changes. I can again like go here and I can simply do a git push, right? If I do a git push here, then this time in the browser I'll see that my changes have been merged, right? So in the code I can see that the last thing that happened was that demo nodes added in 02 introduction is the last commit on the main branch, right? And this 02 introduction still exists, so I can simply delete this branch. I can simply go to view all branches, and I don't need a PR this time because this is already merged, right? So I can simply delete this branch, right? And again, I mean, if I go to my code on virtual tech notes, if I go to Linux Masterclass, and if I go to 01 setup, I can see that this readme.md is still not updated, but my 02 introduction is updated with whatever I wrote in the markdown file, right? So it has been merged and it has been pushed into the GitHub repository, the remote repository that is there. Now we deleted this branch from our GitHub repository, but here again, I mean, if we do a git branch, then we still see that the 02 introduction is still present here. So to delete a branch from here, you can simply do a git branch hyphen d stands for delete, and then 02 introduction. If I press enter, it says that it has deleted that branch for me, right? Now I only have two branches left, the main branch and the 01 setup branch that we had for our first markdown file. Now let's say that I'm done with my second markdown. I even deleted my branch, so I have two branches again, main and 01 setup. Now let's say that I want to go back to my 01 setup branch and again make some changes, right? So I can simply do a git switch and then 01 setup, it switched me to my um, 01 setup branch. Now since I'm in this branch, I can simply go to the editor. Right, now again you'll see that the 02 introduction is empty this time because I'm in my 01 setup branch, which is not yet merged with the master branch. Right, so my 02 introduction is empty, but my 01 setup again displays all the content. Right, so let me just add a couple of lines of notes again. Right, so I added some more content into it this time, and now what I want to do is I want to commit these changes. Right, so again simple git add dot git commit demo nodes 01 setup updated. Right, I made the commit, and now I can do a git push also this time. So I'll do a git push. It again asks me to run this upstream command. I'll quickly copy this, I'll quickly paste this, I'll press enter. So it has pushed my branch this time, uh, and as I can see here, if I refresh this, I can see that again in my branches now I have the 01 setup present. So now the diagram that we had here, it would simply look something like this. So we already have this with us, and let's say that there's one more C5 added here because C4 was what we did in 02 intro, right, pointing towards C3, and this 01 setup this time, instead of pointing towards C3, it is pointing towards C5. Right, so my branch is pointing towards C5. Now I want to merge this with my main branch. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my terminal. I already committed my changes, pushed my changes, so I can simply git switch to my main branch. Right, I'll check which branch I'm on. So I'm on my main branch, and I'm simply going to do a git. I want to merge this branch with my main branch, right, my 01 setup branch. So I'm going to do a git again merge, right, and after merge I'm going to do a 01 setup, like the name of the branch that I want to merge with the current branch that I'm on. Right, I press enter, and it says to enter a commit message here. Right, so I mean by default it says merge branch 01 setup, which I'm fine with. So it says that this is a nano editor that has opened in front of us. You can simply exit it by typing control plus X. Right, you exited it, and now you can see that it is merged. Right, now last time when we merged our 02 introduction with our master branch, it said something like fast forward that we already talked about, right? But this time we can see that it merged our branch. Right, it merged our branch, but it didn't actually say that it fast forwarded it. So what exactly happened? So what happened here is that our development history that is there has diverged from some point in the history, right? And if I again show you from this diagram, my main branch currently is here, right? My 01 setup is currently here, right, and it is diverging from this point, this C2 point. Right, the C2 point was the last common point between this C5 and the C4. The C4 is that commit in which my main branch is pointing towards currently, and this C5 is the commit on which my 01 setup branch is pointing currently, and these two commits C4 and C5, they got diverged from this C2 in the middle. Now the C4 commit that we are in right now, on which our main branch is, this C4 commit is not direct ancestor of the C5 commit, right? So just because it's not a direct ancestor to the branch that we are trying to merge with it, Git has to do some work here. So just because we have this sort of a structure where our history was diverging from some point in time in the history, what is happening is that Git is doing a three-way merge in this. So here our C5 branch is the branch to be merged. This is the branch to be merged. Our C2 here, this is our common ancestor. common ancestor between both the C4 as well as the C5, the two commits that we are trying to merge. So this is our common ancestor, and this C4 is to be merged into. So this is the branch inside which with which we are merging this 0 1 setup, which is the C5 commit. Right, so this is what the situation in which we are in right now. So instead of just moving the branch forward, what Git does is that it creates a new snapshot that results from this three-way merge, and it creates a new commit that is pointing towards that snapshot. Right, so I mean, since that diagram got a bit hodgepodge, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create it again. Right, this is our C0, let's say. This is our C1, right, and this is our C2. Now from here, we took this path with C3, we took this path C4, and we took this path C5. Right, so this was our structure up until now. Now what happens is that it creates a new snapshot for the three-way merge that has happened, right, and it points a new commit towards that snapshot, right. So it creates a new commit C6, you can say, right, and this C6 is what the main branch is going to be on. This main branch is going to point towards C6. The C6 this time has two parents, right? One parent is C5 because it is taking some data from C5, and the other one is C4 because it is taking some data from C4, right? And our 0 1 setup branch was pointing towards C5, right? So this remains here only on C5, but our main branch has moved towards C6, which is like a result of the three-way merge that happened between C4 and C5 commits, right, between the two branches. Now we can just simply delete the branch that we already have because our 0 1 setup is merged. So we can simply do a git branch and then -d and then 0 1 setup, and then we can do a git push, right. So as soon as we push it to git, here if we take a look, we can see that we merged our 0 1 setup branch. That was our commit message that it asked for in the nano editor, and our 0 1 setup is a useless branch now, so we can just simply delete it because it's already merged, right. So we deleted it and now we are left with this, right. So now this was a very clean merge, right? Sometimes when you're merging your data, you might also see some merge conflicts, right? So let's take a look at that, like what exactly are merge conflicts. So again, I'm going to do the same thing, right? I'm going to create one branch here. So to create a new branch, I can simply do a git switch -c test1, right? My test1 branch is created. Now let's say I go back to the code, right, and here in the introduction I just add some random gibberish for it, right, just something random. I do a git add dot get commit random test gibberish added, and then a git push. I even push it, right. Right, so this is done. Right, now I'll switch back to my main branch, git switch main, right, and I'm going to create another branch, git switch -c and then test2, we are gonna call it. So it switched me to test2. Again I can see that my gibberish has been gone. This time let's say I write some actual notes here, right. So I add some normal notes here this time, right. Now again, I mean, I can add this, Right, again I have to do this upstream and all this stuff. I'll again going to switch back to my main branch. Right, I'm in my main branch now, and now I'm going to merge my test2, right? So I'm going to do a git merge test2. Right, I did this. Now I'm going to delete the branch, git branch -d test2. Right, and I'm going to push it. Right, so now if I check in my GitHub repository, then I can see in my Git Masterclass in 01 introduction, sorry, not Git Masterclass, in my Linux Masterclass and 01 setup, I can see that the new instructions that I added have also been added here, the new nodes that I created from test2 branch, but in my test1 branch I added some gibberish and that's not been like added here. So now let's say that I try to merge the two branches, right? I'm already in my main branch right now. I from here do a simple git. So I'll first show you what happens when you do it on the browser, right? I'll first do a git switch. I don't know why I still have, let me just 1 minute. I only have test1. I'm not sure why it's asking me for test2. I don't want to delete it. I want to switch to it. So git switch test1, right? And then I'll simply do a git push here, right? Because I didn't push it last time, or I pushed it, didn't know about it. So I'm going to go to branches. I'm going to simply delete my test2 branch because I don't need it anymore. Now if I go to my test1 branch, if I let's say click on this new pull request here, it says that it cannot merge it automatically. The reason is that the changes in the master that is right now where I added the new nodes and the branch that I'm trying to merge test1 with it, where I've added the random gibberish, both of these files contain different versions of text at the same place in the same file, right? So that's what happening. And if I let's say try to merge it from here, I'll switch to main branch, right? And I'll simply do a git merge test1, right? I press enter. Now this time it says that it tried to auto merge my Linux masterclass /01 readme.md. So it tried to auto merge it, and it found a conflict in my a merge conflict in that readme.md file, and it says that the automatic merge failed, and please fix the conflicts and then commit the result, right? So if I this time go into my editor, right, I'll see that this was the exact place in both the commits in my test1 branch as well as test2 branch. I made the changes in the same file at the same place, right? So git cannot automatically decide which commit to take changes from, right? It could be that the commit that I'm trying to merge right now is the version that I want to keep. It could be that the one that is already merged with the master branch or the main branch, that is the version I want to keep. So it means that this is the version that was already available in the branch that I was merging some other branch in, right? And this is the version that is coming from the branch that I'm trying to merge, right? So in this case, I don't want the random gibberish. I just simply want to keep what was already there in the master branch, right? So I mean here, if I simply do a git status, it will tell me that there are some unmerged paths, right? And both the branches that we are trying to merge, right, they both had this file modified. So until and unless this is resolved and committed, it cannot move forward, right? So now what I can simply do is I can simply choose either one of these. I simply have to remove this headline that is there. I have to remove this equal to that is there, and I want to remove this that is there. And now these two versions that I have available, this one and this one, I can either choose to keep both of them. I can either choose to keep just one of them, right? So I want to remove this random gibberish in my case, right? I'll simply get rid of this. I'll save this. This time my merge conflict will be resolved, right? So now, I mean, since I've already made the changes, I can simply do a git add dot, right? If I do again a git status now, I can see that nothing is there to like done. So it simply says that use git commit to conclude the merge, right? So I'm simply gonna do a git commit, and I'll add a message resolved conflicts, because I just resolved some conflicts in while trying to merge two branches. I'll press enter. It says resolve conflicts. I'm going to get push them, right? And now my branches have been merged. So again, if I come here, I can see that the last action that happened was the resolve conflicts commit that I just did after resolving the commits. Now the branch that was already there, test1, is irrelevant because we've already committed it, right? And now we have a final version in the form of main branch, right? So this time we did the same process that we did earlier, but this time we had some conflicts that we had to resolve. Now sometimes what happens is that when you usually do a git branch, right, sometimes you see a lot of branches that are there, right? You might have created a lot of branches, or there were a lot of remote branches present in the repository that you just cloned, and you don't want to see all these branches in here, whatever you created in the past. Maybe you're using it, maybe you're not using it anymore, maybe it is merged already, right? So you don't want to see all these branches. You can keep deleting branches, but sometimes we get confused about like what was the last commit that happened in a particular branch, right? So if let's say you want to find out the last commit that happened in a particular branch, you can simply do a git branch and then -v. What this is going to show you is it is going to show you the last commit, uh, uh, like the last commit message along with the starting part of the checksum that it created for that commit. It is going to show you those two commits for all those two things for all the branches that were created that are there in your system, right? So the main branch and the test1 branch, as I have it in my local right now, it is showing me that for test1 this was my last commit. The checksum, the initial few characters of the checksum was this, and this was my commit message, random test gibberish added. And for main, this is the checksum of the commit, the last commit that happened on it, the first few characters, and its commit message was resolved commits, right? Then I can also see what are the branches that are merged already, right? So merged already as in currently I'm in my main branch, right? So if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do a git branch and then hyphen merged, then it is going to show me the branches that are merged with the branch that I'm on currently. So currently it is going to show me the list of branches that are merged with my main branch, right? I press enter and I can see that it just shows me two. So main is itself and test1 has been merged with it. But on the other hand, if I did a git switch and switch to my test1 branch, right, and then I do a get branch merged, it doesn't shows me the main branch. Why? Because my main branch did not get merged with my test1. My test1 got merged with the main branch, right? So again, if I do a git switch main and again I do a git branch merged, again it is going to show me the main branch as well as the test1 branch because it is merged, right? Similarly, you can find out what branches are not merged with your current branch that you're on, right, with a no merged flag, right? If I enter this, then it doesn't shows me any branch because I don't have any branches in my system right now that are not merged with the main branch, right? So this way, I mean, these are some handy tools that you can check if you have a lot of branches to manage your branches locally. Now sometimes you might have a branch that you made some commits to, but you didn't actually merge it with your main branch, right? So in that case, if you simply try to do a git branch, so I mean, for example, I'll just create a just one more example, right? I'll do a git switch -c test3, right? So I create a new branch. I'm going to add some random gibberish here, right? And I'm going to do a git add dot get commit hyphen m, right? Now, and then random gibberish test 3, right? So I made the commits. Now I'm going to switch to my main branch, right? I switched to my main branch, and now what I'm trying to do is, if I do a git branch here, I can see that I have two branches now apart from my main branch, test 1 and test 3. So since my test 1 is already merged, I can simply do a git branch hyphen d and then test 1. Right, so this is going to delete my test 1 branch. But what happens if I do the same thing on test 3, which is not merged with my main branch? If I press enter here, it says that the test 3 branch is not fully merged. So if you are sure you want to delete it, run git branch hyphen d with a capital D this time. So up until now we were using a small d, but a cursive D. But now if I want to delete that branch entirely, whatever commits I've made, it's an unwanted code. I don't want it in my project. I just want to delete it. I can simply do a git branch hyphen D, capital D, and then the name of the branch, and it is going to delete the branch for me. Now in our branch, I mean, we have made a lot of commits up until now. We have already made a lot of commits. We have done a lot of stuff, right? So sometimes we, just want to check what is the history of this project, like what are the commits that have been made. So again, I mean, you can do it from two ways. Currently it says that there are about uh, 13 commits made into this repository. So if I click on this, uh, I'd see that these were the commits that were made, and I can just simply go into any of the commits and see, what exactly happened in that commit. Maybe if I go to this commit, it will show me that this is what I added in this particular commit and things like that, right? It also shows me the initial few characters of the commits checksum as well. So all of that is available. But what if you want to check that from your CLI, right? So there's a simple command known as get log. Right, you do a git log, you press enter, and you'll see almost all the you know things that you all the commits that you made right from the latest one. So the latest one comes on the top, and you can simply navigate from your up and down arrow key. I go down, I see the second last was test nodes added, then random gibberish added, then merge 01 setup, I merged it, then all this. So this is my like entire history of git that is there. It is showing me all the logs, and it is showing me the checksum of the commit. Right, it is showing me some details about the author, the name of the author, and the email of the author. It is also showing me the date, like at what date and time was this commit made. So by default, I mean, since we haven't added any arguments, of course, I mean, git log also has some flags that you can use. But since we haven't added it, by default, it shows it in a descending order where your latest commits comes first, and it shows all this information for all the commits that have been made up until now. Now there are plenty of flags available to modify what you're seeing with git log. For example, I can simply do a git log and then hyphen hyphen stat. Right, if I do this, it also kind of shows me what files did I make changes on and how much changes were there. So it says that in my this commit I simply just resolved conflict, so it didn't actually show any changes. But here it says that I made some changes in the test notes added. I made some changes in my 01 setups readme md file. It was about 6 lines of changes, some deletions, some additions, right? 5 insertions, 5 deletions, only one file changed. Then before that, I mean, same file, 4 changes and things like that. So it also this time is showing you some details about what are the exact, in which files were the changes made it and how many changes were exactly made it in each file. So it gives you a little bit of more information than git log, the default git log that is there. If you feel that it's very cluttered and you want it in single line, you can do something like git log and then hyphen pretty and then equal to one line, right? If I press enter here, then you can see that it shows me all the commits that were made, their checksums, the checksum of the commit, and the commit message. It is showing me all of this in just one line for each commit, right? So this is kind of a shorter format for git log, but honestly, I don't think you'll be needing more kind of git logs, at least in the beginning phase, right? You can explore about other flags that are available for git log. That was pretty much it for this video. Now, just to summarize, in this video, we took a bit of practical look into how branches works and what happens when you create branches, when you switch branches, when you merge branches, when there are merge conflicts and things like that. So we took a bit of a uh, diagram based look into it, like what is happening step by step in each step through diagrams. We understood that, and we also initiated our virtual tech notes repository, which is going to be the main repository for maintaining all the notes for all the videos of this bootcamp by the community, right? So you guys are the one who are going to maintain this. If you guys already know how to create, how to make open source contributions and how to raise pull requests and things like that, then feel free to start contributing into this repository. If not, then don't worry, I'll create a separate video on how to contribute notes into this repository, so you'll get a better idea about how you can also start contributing by creating markdown files and handwritten notes and things like that. So all of that is going to be there. So yeah, this repository is already up and you can start contributing notes. All there are so many people who ping me daily, DM me daily about notes and notes. So I hope that instead of pinging me, you guys would start adding notes into this repository and maintain this repository for all the videos that are going to come ahead for the bootcamp. So with that being said, that's pretty much it for this video. Don't forget to use the hashtag learning with Apoorv. Use that hashtag to create some content, right? Write some nice technical blogs, create threads on Twitter, tag me in those tweets, tag me on those blogs, that whatever you're writing, or if you're tweeting about it, tag me in it. Use the hashtag learning with Apoorv, because I mean, recently, since I've been working on the website, I was like going through the Twitter, through all the tweets, right from 13th of May this year till this date, whatever tweets have been tweeted with hashtag learning with Apoorv, I went through all of those tweets and I've filtered out some blogs and threads based on those tweets. So if you're not using this hashtag, if you're creating any sort of content, then that content is never going to reach me. And if that's not going to reach me, I cannot feature it in our blogs, in our website and things like that, through which you might get some more outreach, right? So it's a win-win situation. Use the hashtag, right? Promote me, and in return, if you really produce good content, your content would definitely be featured in our website. I can guarantee that. I mean, the website would anyway would be live soon, and it would be open source, so the code would be available. You guys would get an idea of how it's working and how your creations can also you know be featured in the website. So all of that is going to be available. And yeah, with all of that being said, I think that's pretty much it for this video. Keep learning, keep hustling, although a lot of people are against the hustling culture, but I feel that if you are underprivileged, then you can't afford luxury, like other people who easily say that hustling is a thing of past, or hustle culture is toxic and things like that. I mean, when you're underprivileged, it's the only way, right? So keep hustling, keep learning. If you're privileged, then keep contributing, right? Contribute into this repository, and the link to this repository would be in the description below. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, peace.